Get ready to crush it. Crush it.
Yeah.
This is the Crush It Podcast with Matt and Mason.
Welcome back. It is time. Did I scare you? It's time for another episode of the Crush It Podcast. I am Matt Davis, here with my co-host, Mr. Mason Burchett.
What's going on?
You good?
Hungry?
Let me tell you something. This is the perfect picture of a man who is starting a business. You are sitting over here. You've wrapped up because you're freezing cold because he refuses to turn the heat on. We're here in True Metal Supply, which is fantastic. This awesome backdrop we've got here. The windows, everything going on. But he refuses to turn the heat on, which makes sense.
He's expensive.
So he's all bundled up. I'm bundled up in fat, so that's why I'm good. And he found a snack in the fridge.
Salami and cheese, man.
Yeah, he was literally like, I wonder if salami's good. And apparently the answer is yes,
good.
because he is inhaling this. So
Soterio?
they have to sponsor us for us to read.
Soterio?
If they're not paying us, don't give them any publicity.
Salami Pronti, all natural.
Okay. Well, anyway, so
Provolone cheese.
he's wrapped up, staying warm, got his Crush It toboggan on, which go get yours at thecrushitteam.com.
Right.
And slamming down
I'm down to
some
my last
salami
piece,
and
so-
Mountain Dew. So does that mean that the chewing will stop here?
The dinner
pretty
of
soon?
champions. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Good. Good. Oh.
Hold on.
Oh. What do we have happening here? Boom. It was cancel that. Our computer
got
is
a,
scheduled to go to sleep.
Apparently. We got a topic we've been talking about for a while.
We have.
Another buzzword.
Yeah, a phrase that's kind of been shooting
phrase.
around the business world a little bit, and we decided to jump in on it. It's chug.
We're talking about quiet quitting.
Quiet quitting. You snapped into your late night radio host voice.
All right.
We're talking about quiet quitting.
You'll enjoy this next act.
So yeah, it's a topic that has been floating around, and quiet quitting is what a lot of, to be honest with you, a lot of bosses a lot of owners and managers are trying to say is a bad thing. And we're going to kind of dig into that, talk about the mindset behind what is quiet quitting.
Yep.
Is it justified? Does it make sense? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What are our opinions? And who knows, we may get to a point where we disagree on something.
That's not unlikely or uncommon. What? Go ahead and give a definition on quiet quitting.
So basically, the mindset when you go into a job and you are working for a company, for an organization, the idea is that you do your best, you work hard, you do more than is expected of you, you go above and beyond so that you can grow with the company, get the promotions, get the pay raises, climb the ladder, blah, 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 right?
Sure.
That's kind of the overall mindset that most people have when they go into a job. Well, I guess quiet quitting has come as a result of people getting tired of doing those things over and over and over and never getting the promotion, never getting the pay raise, never getting to take that next step, being overlooked by their employer. And so basically the retaliation has been, well, I'm going to quiet quit, which means I'm still going to show up every day, still going to clock in on time. I'm going to clock out right on time.
Yep.
And I'm not going to go above and beyond. I'm going to do the bare minimum of what my job description is. I'm going to collect my check, and I'm going to go home.
Right.
So they've not officially turned in a resignation letter, but at the same time, they are no longer investing in the growth of that company because they don't feel like the company is investing in their growth.
It's what we used to just call being checked out. Yeah, I'm checked out.
Yeah, you checked out. Yeah, quiet quitting's just a new buzzword for he's checked out. He's,
You know Johnny in the
he
back?
gone. He's
Checked
done.
out.
He's checked out. Yep. The zombie. Old zombie Johnny.
Out.
He's checked out.
Yeah. So this isn't a new thing. It's just
Right.
a new way to talk about it.
Correct.
It's a new fun way to make it trend on Twitter, which is an awesome place now that Elon Musk bought it, by the way. It's like the Wild West of
It's
social
so
media.
fun.
Everybody's got blue check marks. Nobody knows what's real and what's not.
No.
It's awesome.
No, but you get kicked off if you claim to be somebody else.
If you claim
It's
to be Elon
fantastic.
Musk.
Yes.
Anyways, yeah. So quiet quitting, good description of kind of what that is. I think this is especially. I think the reason the buzzwords are so trendy, right now is because of millennials and Gen Zers. This is a
Right.
popular thing with them. It's a very impatient demographic
Yes.
that wants promotions and opportunities and benefits, and they want it now.
Instant gratification.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so, you're when you defined it, you talked about how employers overlook. It's like an employee who's been overlooked for a promotion
Right.
over and over again, and I think that's definitely the case. I think this is also something where it's a lot of impatience,
Agreed.
and people are wanting opportunities and they aren't being afforded to them fast enough, and so they're checking out. They're
Yeah.
quiet quitting.
So I think that there's definitely multiple perspectives to look at this from, and it's definitely got to be whether this is something that is. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but whether or not this is acceptable or not is really a case by case basis.
Agreed. Sure.
So let's start with talking about the point you just brought up. We are living in a day and in a society where everybody wants a microwave career, a TV dinner career,
Ooh, I like
right?
that.
They want to be able to just pull it out of the freezer, pop the top off, whatever, poke a few holes in the top, throw it in the microwave for 3 to 5 minutes, ding, ding, it's time to eat. Right. And you and I know, and anybody who has been in business or really understands the way careers work, that's just not reality.
Not it.
It's not. And I was about to say it's the rule, not the exception, but honestly, it's the exception, not the rule. Honestly, though, I think there are very few exceptions where, a lot of times you hear guys like Grant Cardone, like Ed Milet, Bradley, these guys, they say, yeah, it took me 25 years to become an overnight success because people say, it was this video, it was this thing, it was that thing. But it was years and years and years that nobody saw that led them to that point where things broke in their direction and they were okay. So I think that probably the first thing that we should, in dealing with this, the first thing we should say is, have patience. And just because you got overlooked that first time for that promotion, I think maybe you should probably hold yourself accountable and say, hey, what could I have done different? How could I have maybe earned that promotion, that pay raise, whatever the case may be. But I think that really the first thing you should do before you get mad and decide to blame your employer and quiet quit, you should probably do some real deep self-evaluation and ask yourself, I think probably a good thing to ask is, knowing your work ethic, knowing what you have done, what you have not done. If you were the employer, would you have given yourself
Yeah, sure.
that raise?
Most people are going to say yeah because they're conceited. But
True.
yeah, I think the way I think about this, the way I'm looking at it is not so much of is this acceptable? Like it's just happening, and the way I'm looking at it is why is it happening? Why is quiet quitting trending?
Yeah.
Right. Why is that something that's even being talked about? And because of the reasons you're talking about. And I think I definitely don't think it's as far as the trendiness of this or the intentionality of it, I don't think this is something you're seeing in people that have been in the workforce for a long time. I do think this is something that's trendy among, like I said, younger millennials and Gen Zers. Because I think that there's a really bad interpretation of the workforce among this age group. A lot of younger millennials and Gen Zers are coming into the workforce at the tail end of a good economy.
Yeah.
At the tail end of a really booming economy that was hiring a lot of expanding industries. The stock market's been good for a while.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. And what we're kind of seeing now with the economic downturn, we're seeing a lot of layoffs. We're seeing a lot of companies go bankrupt. We're seeing a lot of consolidation, a lot of downscaling. And these things are all this always happens. I mean, there's always a reset in the economy from time to time, and not a lot of these younger people that are entering the workforce have ever seen that or remember it. But it's happening, and they enter into the workforce with the presupposition that they deserve, a raise, or they deserve a promotion, or they deserve so and so. And I remember, I have to remind myself of this, and a lot of times, I mean, my dad was in the building materials industry forever, doing the same exact position, like for 20 something years, and they're just, I mean, it was a great company. He did well there, but they didn't expand. There was no more room, and and that's not a bad thing. But sometimes there's just no more room,
right?
And sometimes that's where the economy is. And so, like you said, it has to be evaluated on a case by case basis. And I think there's obviously times where people get taken advantage of, they get abused. They get asked to do way more things than their job description requires and are not fairly compensated for it, and that leads them to burnout. And obviously, I think that happens. I think there's also just a lot of entitlement. Yeah, and people want better and they want it now. Yeah, and if they're not going to get,
they're not going to work.
They're going to pitch a tantrum and quiet quit.
Yeah. And so I think that's definitely something that, especially with the type people who are going to use, don't want to tick off a demographic here, but at the same time, the type of people that are going to use this term the most. Are you trying to get sponsored by Mountain Dew? Is that what we're doing, right? Every time you set it down, you turn it to where. If it's going to sit there, it might as well.
MountainDew.com, 800-433-2652.
But, a lot of the people who are really going to claim quiet quitting with their chest out are probably the people who, for the most part, are probably going to fall into that category that we just talked about, because it is just kind of like a buzzword. And like you said, it's not new. The term is just new, and so it's caught fire again. But that's not to say that there's not some truth to some of these situations. Right. We talked back, gosh, I guess it's probably been about a year ago now since we did an episode on the Great Resignation.
That's right.
And we talked a lot about, because that was a buzz term a year ago. Right. And so we talked about how a lot of times these type things come back to the employer, to management, their lack of being able to create culture, their lack of being able to allow growth within their organizations, whether it's from a position standpoint or just a personal growth standpoint. So we had those conversations, and we're not sitting back here. And I want to be careful that, just because you're a official business owner now, it doesn't look like you're just jumping over here and siding with business owners 100%.
Sure.
Because I know that the people we just ticked off will probably try to find something to run with. But the truth is there are a lot of situations where you do have people who work really hard, who, do what is required of them and more, do it without compensation, do it without the promotions, without any of the appreciation. And they do it year after year after year after year. And so a lot of times that is what does lead to the quiet quitting.
Sure.
Here's a minute ago I said I don't want to get ahead of myself. I kind of wanted to save this phrase for this point in the podcast. The truth is, quiet quitting is never acceptable.
Sure.
That's my opinion. If you disagree, that's fine. I'll allow it. But I don't think that quiet quitting is ever acceptable. I think you have two choices, right? You either continue to work hard and be patient because you've not given it enough time, you've not proven yourself, you're just being lazy and you're being impatient and you're not allowing the process to work out to allow you to get where you want to be. Either that, or if you have checked all the boxes, you have done everything you're supposed to do, you have given yourself 110%, you've given it the time, your company, your manager, your employer has painted the picture and you see that this is going to continue, it's not okay to quiet quit. At that point, you have to just make a decision and move on.
Yeah. And I think there's two things I want to mention here. And one of them is like, as far as the definition of quiet quitting being like, I'm just going to come in, I'm going to do my job, nothing more.
I mean, by definition.
Yeah, and this is where I wanted to qualify this. Like, if you're content doing that and you don't want anything else, then you're not quiet quitting. You're just doing your job. Like, and that's cool.
Agreed.
That's fine.
Agreed.
But if you're going in and being like, you know what, I want to work at a place, or like I want to do more here.
Right.
You know, but I'm not gonna because X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, what we're talking about is quiet quitting.
Never let a company take that drive away from you.
Yeah.
If you're working for a company that drains that of you, and then that's not a place you need to be.
Yeah, and sometimes it sneaks up on you, and sometimes the dynamic of a company changes. Key people leave that create hardships that didn't used to be there, and sometimes the way that companies respond to that. I'm thinking of a specific situation. I got a friend that works at a company where they've had a lot of staff changes with some really tenured employees, and it's put some hardship on the people that are still there, and ownership's really not being responsive or involved enough, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really leading to a scenario where some of their key people that are working really hard to keep things afloat are getting to the point where they're like, well, heck, if the owners don't care, why should I? Like, if they don't care, why do I care more about your company than you?
Than you do.
And that's tough. And I'm not shaming that at all.
No.
That's a shame on the employer for
Correct.
allowing their people to feel that way. And I think that's definitely a mistake on ownership and leadership's part. And that's a really dangerous place to get to. And I think it's a place that a lot of companies do get to, where they just don't have the emotional intelligence to see the strain that's on their people.
Right.
And they let them get burnt out. And then they sit there scratching their heads when people that have been there 10, 12, 15 years start leaving.
Yeah.
Oh, where did we go wrong?
Yeah.
You didn't pay attention. You didn't look into your company.
So can we say that the scenarios that you're describing there, could we call that quiet firing?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you're giving your people permission to leave.
Yeah. If you're not willing,
quiet laying off,
whatever. If you as an employer, as a manager, are not allowing your people to have the opportunity to grow, and giving them, and I don't mean, one thing that drives me nuts with a lot of companies is this mindset of dangling a carrot in front of somebody and always promising the world but never delivering anything. And I think that creates one of the most dangerous cultures within a company.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think that maybe a lot of people are, with this whole quiet quitting thing, the truth is they have maybe they've just realized that they've been quietly let go.
Yeah.
And they're having to understand that, okay, I've tapped out here, not by my choice, but they're not keeping up their end of the deal, and it's created an environment where I can't grow anymore.
Yeah, for sure. And when you get into that position, it can be really disheartening.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you've already invested a lot of time and effort into the place you're at, and you don't want to leave because you feel like you've wasted all that time.
Yeah.
And so you're like, man, I guess I'll just keep sticking it out. This is where the quiet quitting comes in. I guess I'll keep sticking it out because I don't want to have wasted those past 5 years where I've been trying so hard and working so hard. And, and am I just going to leave and go start over somewhere else and it turn into the same thing?
Right.
And that's a tough position to be in. You have to make the decision for yourself. But my buddy Mark Tipton talked about this. And, when you find yourself in a situation like this, you really have a couple of points you can evaluate. Number one is, can you change it? Can you change what's going on?
Right.
If you can't, are you willing to accept that it's not going to change?
Yep.
If you're not willing to accept that there's no change coming, then leave.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. There's no gray area. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Either if you can change it, then change it. If you can't change it, accept it's not going to change. And if you can't accept that, then leave.
You
have to leave.
Absolutely.
And that really does make it very simple to evaluate I don't know if I should leave or I should stay. Those are really good metrics to measure that by.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You use the word simple there. A lot of times it's not easy, but it's simple. It's a hard decision to make. But looking
It's not
at
a complicated one.
Right. It's pretty simple to figure out where you need to be. That doesn't make it any less scary or hurtful even, when you've invested time, energy, blood, sweat, and tears a lot of times into a company. But at the end of the day, you have to understand the fact that if something were to happen to you tomorrow, they would have you replaced by within a week.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So if a company does not understand, if they're not willing to invest in you, then that may not be the place for you to invest yourself into.
Yeah.
Right. And again, I think just a quick reminder, what you said a minute ago, if your whole mentality is, hey, I just want to come in, work a job, and leave. I don't really care about anything else. Sure. Yeah, that's fine. But at the same time, if that's your mentality, then there should be a lot of options for you on places to do that. So don't stick around somewhere that's causing you stress and affecting your peace and your mental health and your ability to enjoy life.
Yeah.
Right. So there's several different ways to look at this. And again, we talked about at the beginning, I think it's a case by case basis. And a lot of times the issues that arise with these type things is people try to throw a blanket over all of it and say, I'm for quiet quitting. I'm not for quiet quitting. Well, let's dig into your situation. Let's dig into what you've got going on and see how it fits, what doesn't fit, what changes you can make. I think that's where you should always start. Always start with evaluating you and looking at what you are doing, what you could do different. And if you feel like you're doing everything you can and you're checking all the marks for you, then you move on to the other things in your situation. But my opinion, as we're kind of wrapping up the thought, my opinion is that quiet quitting is never acceptable. Either you probably need to be patient and let things work out, or you need to move on and find a place that supports the growth and the culture that you're looking for you to be able to grow in.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean the whole the whole thing of quiet quitting really alludes to like you being perpetually frustrated, and that's no way to live.
Right.
Like what you're saying, that's no way to live. So that's why you're saying it's not acceptable.
And there also needs, just to kind of add to that, there also needs to be an understanding that just because you leave a company, sometimes people leave companies because they're bad companies, right? Sure. They're not a company you want to work for. But there's also sometimes that you leave a company just because it's no longer the right fit for you. Yeah. And that's okay.
That's totally cool.
Don't feel like you're insulting a company that's given you a job for the last 5, 7, 10 years just because, hey, this doesn't fit anymore. I've got something else. There's a different company over here that fits better for me.
This is where a lot of bridges get burned.
Yeah, and there's no need for that.
And this is the thing. And I used to say that like the people I work with are like family, but they're really not. Companies are not families.
No.
They're not like families. And any company that says that,
I hate that.
Like they're missing the mark. A good, close-knit company is like a community.
Yeah.
a community is a much better word for it. A community's got people, can have people you love. It can have people you can be really close to, but it's also a place you can leave. Like I used to live in Greenville, South Carolina, and I love that city. It's a really cool city.
Makes no sense.
You know what I mean?
Hate that city. Go ahead.
I mean, it's like there's cool places there. I have made a lot of friends there.
Yeah.
I had a good time living there. But like there was a time where it no longer made sense for me to live there anymore, and so I left that community
Right.
and moved to a different one.
I love that analogy.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's not the same thing with the family. You know,
No.
like it's not the same thing.
Yeah, like me and my brother can have a complete knockdown, drag out, hate each other's guts, never want to talk again. He's still my brother.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I still like that's can never change.
Right.
So I like that analogy that it's a community. And you kind
Like you're not going to go to Jonathan and say, "Hey man, we're not brothers anymore."
right. That's
know?
never going to happen.
He's your family.
Correct.
He's going to stay your family.
Yeah, I actually I used to have when I was little, my cousin Chelsea, she would always, if I didn't do something she liked or like wouldn't play with her or whatever, she would say, "I'm not going to be your cousin anymore." And that's kind of the mindset that a lot of these companies have, right?
Yeah.
But there's also something pretty cool that about being a part of a community, in that you choose to be here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you're not stuck here.
Right.
You're choosing to be here.
You weren't born
choosing-
into this.
No, we're
either.
choosing to
Right.
accept you. And I think that maybe you're really onto something there with creating a culture of community within the workplace, not family.
Right.
Because I'll be honest with you, from a lot of stories I've heard, a lot of people, you tell them you treat them like family, and they're going to punch you in the face because their families treated them really bad in the past.
Yeah.
So not always a good thing, right? But this idea of community, you think of community, you think of when somebody gets hurt, everybody comes together to help them. You think of having each other's back. You think of an enjoyable group of people, and I think that a lot of that ties into this quiet quitting, quiet firing, where people don't feel like there is a sense of community.
Sure.
A lot of people, and I know we've said this before on other episodes, but there's a lot of people that'll stay at jobs for less money because of the culture that they feel.
Yeah.
It's not, we work to make money, yes, but people will choose to make less money sometimes just to have the culture, the community that they want to be a part of. And so that's vital for an organization. And if you want to prevent this quiet quitting from happening within your company, within your organization, then having that community feel is really important.
Yeah, because
I love that analogy.
When you have this family culture thing, I think it can really breed. It can turn into a negative culture where you have people decide they're going to start quiet quitting. Because when you have this, we're family thing, you start opening the door to expecting people to really go above and beyond all the time and not be compensated.
We do for family mindset.
Yeah, and not be compensated fairly for it.
Yep.
And like if the owner wants to have a family culture, that's great. Start splitting equity. Like if you want everybody to work like it's their company, then give them part of the company.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like if it's a community, then you pay them to do the job that they're supposed to do, and don't expect them to work like an owner. Gary Vee hits this.
Gary Vee nails this.
He doesn't. I own this. I own True Metal Supply now with my business partners. When we bring people on to this team, I don't expect them to work the way I work.
No.
I don't expect them to stay here till midnight. I don't expect them to put their blood, sweat, and tears into it.
Right.
I expect them to do the job they're hired to do and do a good job at it.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to work like an owner. I don't expect them to work like an owner. It's not their company.
Right.
And if one day I want them to start working like that, we'll give them part of the company.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Not to mention, stop using the term "we're family" here, because people roll their eyes at me. It's such a red flag now.
Yeah.
Right. Stop using the term.
Right, until I get
period.
reported to HR and
That's exactly
fired from the
right.
family.
That's exactly right. So,
Well, there you
quiet
have it.
quitting. There it is. That's our opinions.
That's what we think.
Some of those we didn't even know we had till we started talking about them. But
We really could have done a full different episode on the family versus community thing.
yeah, we may revisit that.
We
That
may
was
split
good.
this off into 2 15-minute episodes.
That was good.
was
That was good.
Tied in though. Made
It
sense.
did. It did.
So thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah.
check out thecrochetteam.com. We got new stuff on the blog. We've got
Go to our website. Mason's put some killer stuff. He's put a ton of work into it. It looks awesome. If you want Amazon or Audible, do it through our website.
That's right. Yeah. We get money if you do that.
3 cents.
Yep. And so we've got some cool new stuff. Always, the website's alive. It's always
alive.
changing. It's always growing.
Talk real quick. 20 seconds. Talk about Through the Roof.
Yeah, Through the Roof is a podcast on our network that is hosted here by True Metal Supply, and it talks about the residential metal roofing and post frame building industry.
Yeah.
And so we bring on a lot of really cool guests from the industry. So even if you're just a business professional and you're not really interested in metal roofing, we get a lot of cool perspectives from people in the industry.
Which let me say this real quick to plug this in. I've not even told you this yet. Friday you had the grand opening here, the ribbon cutting for True Metal Supply. It was awesome. Had a great crowd. But the gentleman from out in Nashville, I'm forgetting where he's from. You had an episode.
Triangle, Randy Sharber.
Yes. So I was talking to him, and he was just going on and on about the way y'all are setting yourselves apart here at True Metal Supply is with the way you're educating.
Yep.
The education piece of it, and so fantastic. It's great stuff. Stuff. So check it out.
Yeah, thanks. That's all on the crochetteam.com too. Just click on the podcast page, and you'll see all of our podcasts. And we've got another show that'll be coming into the fold here.
Beautiful.
That we'll be excited to announce here in the coming weeks. So stay tuned. All right, guys. Until next time, just
check us out. Crush it.